in the heart of America's most powerful law enforcement agency, a silent traitor lurked for over 2 decades. A man trusted with the nation's deepest secrets, who slowly and methodically sold them to the enemy. His betrayal wasn't driven by ideology but by greed, ego, and a chilling disregard for loyalty. How could one man fool the FBI for so long? How much damage can a single insider cause before the system even notices? This is not the story of an outsider. It's the terrifying reality of a man who destroyed from within. This is the story of Robert Hanssen.
Robert Philip Hanssen was born on April 18, 1944 in Chicago, Illinois. Raised in a strict and often turbulent household, Hanssen experienced a childhood dominated by his father's harsh discipline. His father, a Chicago police officer, was known for his controlling nature and frequent verbal abuse, traits that left a deep psychological impact on young Robert. Despite the turbulent environment, Hanssen excelled academically, displaying an early fascination with technology, law enforcement, and secret worlds. He attended Knox College, majoring in chemistry, and later pursued business studies at Northwestern University, where he earned an MBA in accounting and information systems. However, his true passion lay in intelligence work, driven by a desire for recognition and authority that he never fully received at home. After a short stint as a Chicago police officer, specializing in internal affairs, Hanssen made a pivotal career shift by joining the FBI in 1976. From the very beginning, those close to him noted his introverted personality and preference for privacy, traits that, while seen as harmless at the time, would later serve as a perfect camouflage for his double life. Hanssen's upbringing and early ambitions silently set the stage for one of the greatest betrayals in American history. In January 1976, Robert Hanssen officially joined the Federal Bureau of Investigation, beginning his career as a special agent assigned to the Gary, Indiana field office. Early on, he demonstrated a keen interest in counterintelligence, a field that deals with protecting national secrets from foreign spies. His analytical mind, coupled with his reserved demeanor, quickly earned him a reputation for being reliable, though somewhat distant from his peers. Within a few years, Hanssen transferred to the FBI headquarters in New York City, where he worked in counterintelligence operations against the Soviet Union. Handling sensitive information became part of his daily life, and he soon gained access to highly classified data. However, despite his competence, Hanssen often felt overlooked for promotions and greater authority, quietly fueling a growing resentment toward the very institution he served. What set Hanssen apart was his deep fascination with espionage and surveillance tactics. While most agents viewed these tools as mere parts of the job, Hanssen admired the power they offered. This admiration, combined with personal ambition and an undercurrent of dissatisfaction, planted dangerous seeds within him. Without raising suspicion, Robert Hanssen began positioning himself for a betrayal that would later shock the entire intelligence community. In 1979, just a few years into his FBI career, Robert Hanssen took a step that would forever stain his legacy. He made his first unauthorized contact with Soviet intelligence. Motivated more by financial gain than ideology, Hanssen approached the Soviets directly, offering classified information in exchange for cash. His early leaks were modest but incredibly damaging, revealing details about US counterintelligence activities and the identities of Soviet agents secretly working for America. Hanssen operated with extreme caution. Instead of meeting handlers face to face, he created a system of dead drops, hiding sensitive documents in secluded locations and retrieving payment from similarly hidden spots. His understanding of FBI surveillance tactics allowed him to avoid detection effortlessly during these initial operations. Interestingly, after a brief but impactful stint of spying, Hanssen abruptly stopped in the early 1980s, seemingly abandoning his treasonous activities. Some believe he feared exposure, others suggest a temporary return to his strict Catholic values made him reconsider. Whatever the reason, his retreat was short-lived. The greed, pride, and thirst for significance that first pushed him toward espionage never truly disappeared. They simply lay dormant, waiting for the moment he would reawaken them, this time with far greater consequences. Robert Hanssen's methods of spying were a chilling blend of intelligence, patience, and deep insider knowledge. Unlike reckless agents who took unnecessary risks, Hanssen was methodical. He never met his Russian handlers in person. Instead, he relied on an intricate network of dead drops, remote locations where he would leave classified materials and pick up payments. These exchanges happened in parks, under footbridges, or inside concealed holes near wooded trails, minimizing the chance of exposure. To communicate, Hanssen used encrypted notes, anonymous letters, and even clever signals like taping a piece of white tape on a specific park sign to indicate a dead drop had been made. He utilized fake identities and untraceable bank accounts to mask financial trails, all while maintaining a facade of an ordinary, even slightly boring FBI agent. He was particularly dangerous because he understood exactly what the FBI would look for in a mole, and he meticulously avoided those patterns. Hanssen also exploited the Bureau's gaps in internal security, often accessing information that was outside the scope of his direct duties without raising alarms. His operations were a masterclass in betrayal, showing just how terrifyingly effective an insider with patience and deep procedural knowledge could become. Over his 2 decades of betrayal, Robert Hanssen compromised some of the United States' most critical national security secrets. Among his most devastating leaks was the exposure of 3 top Soviet double agents working for the FBI and CIA. Their identities, once revealed, led to their execution, an irreversible loss that stunned the American intelligence community. Hanssen also handed over the complete list of American assets operating in Russia, crippling US espionage efforts abroad. His betrayal didn't stop there. He provided detailed plans for US nuclear war strategies, sophisticated surveillance techniques, and the location of secret FBI tunnels built underneath the Soviet embassy in Washington, D.C., a project that had taken years to construct in absolute secrecy. In addition to documents, Hanssen exposed highly classified technologies related to satellite tracking and electronic eavesdropping, giving Russia an immense advantage in counter-surveillance. His information helped the Soviets restructure their own security protocols, making American intelligence gathering far riskier and less effective for years. What made Hanssen's betrayal especially terrifying was not just the volume of secrets he revealed, but the strategic nature of his leaks, targeting exactly what would cause the most long-term, widespread damage to US national security. Robert Hanssen's psychological makeup was a tangled web of contradictions. Outwardly, he appeared to be a disciplined, deeply religious man, attending church regularly, promoting traditional values, and living a seemingly modest life. Yet beneath that carefully constructed image lurked a man consumed by arrogance, resentment, and a desperate need for recognition. Hanssen felt perpetually overlooked within the FBI, believing that his intelligence and contributions went unnoticed. This festering bitterness fueled a dangerous mix of superiority and self-pity. He wasn't driven purely by money. Although he accepted over $1.4 million in cash and diamonds, he also sought validation, craving a sense of power that the Bureau never gave him. Despite his rigid Catholic beliefs, Hanssen compartmentalized his actions, rationalizing his betrayals as being too clever to be caught or somehow harmless in the grand scheme. He created an alternate identity online, indulging in secret obsessions and bizarre behaviors that clashed with his public persona. Psychologists later described Hanssen as having strong narcissistic tendencies coupled with obsessive-compulsive traits. His calculated, emotionless approach to espionage suggested a deep lack of empathy. Ultimately, Hanssen's mind was a battlefield, one where loyalty, morality, ego, and greed collided in catastrophic fashion. Robert Hanssen's double life was a masterclass in deception, even within the walls of his own home. To his wife Bonnie and their 6 children, Hanssen was the image of a devoted Catholic father, strict but caring, often leading family prayers and emphasizing moral values. Their suburban life in Virginia seemed textbook perfect: school events, church gatherings, and simple family dinners. Yet behind this wholesome facade, Hanssen lived an entirely different existence. As he tucked his children into bed at night, he was already plotting his next move in betraying his country. He used secret compartments in his home to hide cash from the Russians and frequently accessed encrypted communication methods without raising suspicion. Astonishingly, even when Bonnie once caught hints of his strange behavior, like large sums of unexplained money, Hanssen spun believable lies about secret, sanctioned work for the government. She believed him, blinded by decades of marriage and shared faith. His ability to compartmentalize was chilling. He could express genuine affection at the dinner table and hours later deliver classified materials to America's enemies. Hanssen's life was a constant balancing act, where the loving family man and the calculating traitor coexisted without ever colliding, until the bitter end. As early as the mid-1980s, the FBI began to suspect that there was a mole within their ranks, someone with access to the most classified operations and intelligence. A series of inexplicable security breaches, combined with a sudden increase in Soviet knowledge of US operations, raised alarms. Yet for years they couldn't pinpoint the traitor within their own agency. Hanssen, despite his careful methods, made small mistakes. Certain leaks were too detailed, too accurate for them to ignore. His behavior also began to raise eyebrows. His reluctance to discuss personal matters with colleagues, combined with his odd and obsessive routines, didn't match the typical FBI agent profile. But suspicions alone weren't enough to launch a full-scale investigation. In 1998, the FBI launched a covert investigation known as Operation Ghost Stories, using a combination of surveillance, electronic monitoring, and cryptographic analysis. They meticulously tracked possible suspects, including Hanssen. What they discovered was unsettling. Hanssen's access to high-level information was far too deep, and his patterns of contact with Russian intelligence were too frequent to be coincidental. However, despite mounting evidence, the FBI was still unsure. It took the work of an anonymous tipster, a fellow FBI agent who had suspicions about Hanssen's activities, to finally push the Bureau toward an arrest. The truth, when it came, was devastating. In 2000, after years of mounting suspicion, the FBI launched a high-stakes operation to catch Robert Hanssen red-handed. Codenamed Operation Ghost Stories, the investigation was a complex and tightly coordinated effort that brought together the FBI's most skilled agents and analysts. The operation relied heavily on cutting-edge technology, electronic surveillance, and careful monitoring of Hanssen's behavior. The FBI had already identified Hanssen as the prime suspect, but they lacked concrete evidence. To catch him, they set a brilliant trap, a controlled drop of false information. They placed a fake document, highly classified and extremely valuable to Russian intelligence, into the system, knowing Hanssen would attempt to steal it. It was a gamble, but one that could potentially lead them to the proof they desperately needed. At the same time, FBI agents planted hidden cameras around the areas where Hanssen regularly conducted his dead drops. They also followed his every move, tracking his car and monitoring his phone calls. In February 2001, the trap was set. Hanssen, unaware that he was being watched, walked into the park where the secret drop was supposed to occur. It was there in the dead of winter that he was finally apprehended by FBI agents. The man who had betrayed his country for decades was now face to face with justice. February 18, 2001 was the day Robert Hanssen's years of betrayal came to a violent end. The FBI's sting operation had been meticulously set up, and the moment of truth had arrived. Hanssen, still unaware that the walls were closing in on him, drove to his usual dead drop location in a secluded area of Virginia's Foxstone Park. He was on his way to pick up a payment for the classified documents he had just handed over to Russian operatives. At the designated spot, Hanssen pulled his car to the side of the road and walked towards the hidden spot where he had left the materials. As he reached down to collect the package, agents from the FBI, who had been watching his every move from hidden vantage points, moved in quickly. They surrounded him, guns drawn, catching him completely off guard. As he was arrested, Hanssen was initially calm, almost eerily composed, despite the gravity of the moment. He didn't resist, perhaps resigned to the inevitable. The FBI agents found the evidence they needed on him. A bag filled with $50,000 in cash, the same amount he had been accepting for years in exchange for the nation's deepest secrets. Robert Hanssen, the most damaging spy in FBI history, was finally in custody. The arrest of Robert Hanssen sent shockwaves through the intelligence community. For over 2 decades, he had been feeding the enemy the most sensitive secrets of the United States. And now, the full extent of his betrayal was coming to light. His capture was not just a personal defeat for him, it was a crippling blow to the FBI and the wider national security apparatus. Hanssen's arrest raised numerous questions. How had such a high-level agent remained undetected for so long? What was the true extent of the damage caused by his leaks? The FBI, deeply embarrassed, was forced to conduct a massive internal review, scrutinizing its own security measures and revealing unsettling gaps in its counterintelligence operations. Hanssen's actions prompted a re-evaluation of FBI training and personnel vetting processes, leading to significant changes in how the agency handled internal security. In the months that followed, Hanssen's trial became a spectacle. He was charged with espionage, conspiracy, and multiple counts of aiding the enemy. His motivations, greed, resentment, and a twisted sense of superiority were laid bare in court. Hanssen was ultimately sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. His betrayal left a permanent scar on the FBI's reputation and national security. The man once trusted with America's most closely guarded secrets was now one of the most notorious spies in US history. Robert Hanssen's trial was as dramatic as his capture, drawing national attention and revealing the depths of his betrayal. In 2001, Hanssen was charged with espionage, conspiracy, and numerous counts of providing classified information to the Soviet Union and later to Russia. The evidence against him was overwhelming. The FBI had not only caught him in the act of accepting cash for secrets, but also uncovered a trail of documents detailing the most confidential operations of the United States government. Throughout the trial, Hanssen remained eerily composed, offering little in the way of defense. His legal team argued that he was acting out of a misguided desire for recognition, and that he had justified his actions by convincing himself that he was somehow performing a patriotic duty. But the prosecution painted a different picture, one of a man driven by greed, ego, and an insatiable desire for power. In 2002, Robert Hanssen was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The court's decision sent a strong message that espionage would be met with the harshest punishment. Hanssen, a former FBI agent who had once sworn to protect his country, now faced a life of confinement for the treacherous acts that had cost countless lives and irreparably damaged US intelligence operations. The arrest and conviction of Robert Hanssen had a profound and lasting impact on intelligence agencies, both within the United States and internationally. His betrayal, one of the most significant in US history, shattered the sense of security and trust that had long been a cornerstone of the FBI and other intelligence bodies. The breach exposed not only the vulnerabilities within the FBI, but also the broader gaps in the nation's counterintelligence operations. For the FBI, Hanssen's actions prompted an immediate overhaul of internal security protocols. The agency realized that a mole of his caliber, working undetected for so long, could infiltrate the very fabric of their operations. They initiated sweeping reforms in their recruitment, screening, and monitoring processes to ensure that such a betrayal would never happen again. This included implementing more rigorous background checks, psychological evaluations, and increasing surveillance of high-level employees. The Hanssen case also had a chilling effect on the CIA, NSA, and other intelligence agencies, who now questioned the loyalty of their own personnel. The realization that even the most trusted individuals could be capable of such treachery prompted a re-evaluation of security measures worldwide. For many agencies, Hanssen's betrayal became a painful lesson in the necessity of vigilance and transparency. After decades of solitary confinement, Robert Hanssen's story came to a quiet and chilling end. On the morning of June 5, 2023, guards at Addicts Florence found him lying motionless in his cell. The man once feared as one of America's most dangerous traitors had died alone, just as he had lived for over 20 years behind bars. No final confession, no remorse, just silence. His death marked the end of a dark chapter in US intelligence history, yet it left behind more questions than answers. Did he ever feel regret? Did the years of isolation break him? Or did he remain defiant until the very end? There was no public funeral, no eulogies, no mourning. Hanssen was quietly removed from the pages of the present, but his shadow still lingers. To this day, his betrayal haunts the halls of the FBI, a grim reminder of how one man's deception can destroy countless lives and unravel national security. And so, the man who once sold America's deepest secrets to the enemy took his final secret to the grave. leaving behind only the echo of betrayal. The question that looms over Robert Hanssen's betrayal is simple yet profound. Why did he do it? On the surface, his actions appear to be the result of greed and a desire for financial gain. After all, Hanssen accepted over $1.4 million in cash and diamonds from the Russians during his espionage career. But a deeper analysis suggests that his motives were far more complex, driven by a mix of personal insecurities, psychological issues, and a need for recognition. Hanssen's career in the FBI was marked by feelings of frustration and resentment. Despite his intellect and skills, he never felt truly valued by his peers or superiors. This sense of inadequacy may have fueled a desire for recognition, not just within the agency, but in the eyes of the world. His betrayal was in many ways an attempt to prove his own worth, to show that he could manipulate a system that had never fully embraced him. Additionally, Hanssen's strict Catholic faith played a paradoxical role. While he outwardly embraced religious values, his actions suggested a compartmentalization of morality, allowing him to justify his betrayal as a form of revenge against an institution that he felt had slighted him. His narcissistic tendencies and obsessive-compulsive behaviors further explain his cold, calculated approach to espionage. Ultimately, Hanssen's motives were not purely financial. They were rooted in a toxic mix of pride, bitterness, and a warped sense of self-worth. Robert Hanssen's legacy is one defined by the sheer scale of his betrayal. His actions didn't just damage the United States intelligence capabilities, they irrevocably altered the way intelligence agencies operate and perceive trust within their own ranks. Hanssen's betrayal left scars that would never heal. Lives lost, intelligence operations compromised, and decades of work undone. One of the most haunting aspects of Hanssen's legacy is the psychological toll his espionage took on his colleagues. Those who worked alongside him for years, unaware of his treachery, were left grappling with feelings of betrayal and self-doubt. How could they have missed the signs? His colleagues at the FBI and CIA were forced to confront the uncomfortable reality that one of their own could be capable of such damage. In the broader context, Hanssen's espionage highlighted the vulnerability of national security systems, particularly when a trusted insider is involved. His case led to sweeping reforms in intelligence agencies worldwide, from improved vetting processes to heightened scrutiny of high-ranking officials. Yet, despite these reforms, Hanssen's legacy serves as a constant reminder that the most dangerous threats often come from within. His actions continue to reverberate through the halls of intelligence agencies, where the shadow of betrayal will forever loom over the trust that holds them together. As we come to the end of this chilling tale of Robert Hanssen's betrayal, it's clear that the damage caused by a single individual can echo through history in unimaginable ways. Hanssen's espionage didn't just change the course of US intelligence, it left an indelible mark on the world. But as we close this chapter, I want to leave you with one more story of power, manipulation, and secrecy. If you found this story compelling, I invite you to dive into another gripping tale from history, the rise and fall of one of the most controversial figures in modern history, Saddam Hussein. From his brutal regime to the eventual downfall that shocked the world, Saddam's story is filled with intrigue, betrayal, and political games that shaped the Middle East for decades. You can watch my video on Saddam Hussein by clicking the link right here on your screen. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more mysteries from history. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more shocking revelations from the past. You won't want to miss it.